The Dante is a whisperer theory. I never thought I would even think of making this video, but I've recently been thinking about it. I rewatched the short amount of time we've seen Dante in The Walking Dead Season 10, and something seems wrong. It feels different to other new characters. It feels like there's an ulterior motive every time we see Dante. And out of all the characters, why has Dante been written to connect with Siddiq, one of the characters I initially said could have betrayed the group? Which, by the way, that theory isn't as bad and as far-fetched as it sounds. It just suggests that Siddiq did something to lead these characters to the barn. It doesn't suggest he's a traitor, it doesn't suggest he's a spy. It suggests he made a single move, a single choice that betrayed the group. But if anything, what we know now from watching Siddiq in Season 10 is that there's a lot more to what happened at the barn. There's some stuff he remembers and he's been having flashbacks to that, but there's some things he doesn't remember. When the Pike victims were killed, Siddiq said he was knocked on the head and he woke up tied to a tree at the bottom of the hill of the Pikes. After being knocked unconscious, surely there's some stuff that you might not remember. I think Siddiq has forgotten some parts of what happened at the barn. I think the flashbacks that Siddiq has been having in Season 10 aren't just flashbacks. They're memories coming back to him. But what would be the purpose of that? Why would Angela Kang write certain moments from the barn to be foggy to him? Well, let's rewind to the first time Siddiq had one of these flashbacks. Well, it was in Season 10 Episode 1. He was putting little baby Coco to sleep. All seems well, Coco is laughing and smiling, until Siddiq spins a baby toy above Coco's head. 11 paper birds dangled by a string above Coco for comfort. But as soon as Siddiq spins these birds, Coco's face drops. She begins to uncontrollably cry. But more importantly, the moment Siddiq spins the birds, he loses control. He begins to have his first flashback. Now, why would it be the birds that triggered this to happen, to make Coco sad and Siddiq start to have flashbacks? Well, this isn't the base of the theory, so if this turns out to not be true, the theory can still work. This has almost nothing to do with it. But I would relate these 11 birds to the 10 Pike victims. Siddiq would have been the 11th Pike victim, so these paper birds could represent the Pike victims, which would explain why Coco got sad and Siddiq started to lose control. Not because Coco has some sixth sense, but this is just to say that Angela Kang has put this in there to begin the sequence of flashbacks that Siddiq would have. Although these birds started the flashbacks, what stopped it is most important. When Siddiq sees the spider, it brings him back to the barn. The next thing that happens is Dante makes his first ever appearance. Dante said the reason he went to go and see if Siddiq was okay was because he was screaming bloody murder from across the hallway. Dante, of course, goes on to say his phrase,
"We're like gods in the apocalypse,"
which at first led me to believe Siddiq would die. But if this theory turns out to be true, this would suggest Dante would die. Because if the other characters find out he really is a whisperer, I think we can all picture the punishment that would take place. I think the main question we all had when Dante first appeared is why did the camera zoom into Dante's mouth as if to show Siddiq's view and where he's looking, and why did that trigger a flashback? Here's the scene.
By the way, this yellow alert business? Damn. So, what's with this whisper? You want to get a room?
Excuse me?
The way you're staring at my mouth is making me warm and tingly inside.
When you look at a whisperer, what are the key features that you would notice? If you were to recognize someone under that skin mask, what would you look at to try and identify them? The only features we can see is both their eyes, their nose, and their mouth. I think the reason Siddiq was looking at Dante's mouth when he was talking about the Whisperers is because he is a Whisperer. And I think Siddiq knows that. Every time he's had a flashback scene or he's suffering from PTSD, Dante always arrives on the scene. He's always there to help Siddiq. So I think the reason Siddiq was looking at Dante's mouth as he was talking is because he recognizes it. Through a Whisperer mask, he would have seen the mouth of Dante. This exact coordination of teeth, I think Siddiq is recognizing it, and I think it's going to be revealed that Dante was at the barn. These flashback scenes aren't just flashbacks. Siddiq is remembering, and I think he's very slowly but surely recognizing Dante. Notice how Dante is continuously making sure Siddiq is okay, making sure he stays sane so that he doesn't remember anything or say anything out of line. He's constantly trying to be a friend to Siddiq, maybe a bit too much sometimes. At the end of episode 3 of season 10, Carol had just fallen from a Whisperer trap. She fell into some glass. A shard of glass was stuck in her arm. Of course, she had to go to the doctors in Alexandria, Siddiq and Dante, and get the glass taken out, and Siddiq was going to do it at first. He told Dante to pull the glass out so he could go in there and get everything healed. But Siddiq saw the shard of glass and was reminded of Alpha's machete. Dante offers to help because he sees Siddiq is struggling, but Siddiq says it's fine. And it cuts to the next scene and we assume that Siddiq has done it. However, once they leave the room, it's clear that Dante ended up doing it and he let Siddiq take credit for it. But Siddiq seemed almost bothered that Dante did that, like he was annoyed how complacent Dante was being, almost condescending. And as much as this could be taken, and I think we're meant to be taking it as Dante just being a good friend to Siddiq, a fellow doctor. After all the stuff I've showed you in this video, of course from the 15 minutes that Dante even has had on screen, I think behind the thoughts of Siddiq, he's realising that Dante really is a Whisperer and he's just getting annoyed that he's trying to be almost diplomatic to Siddiq. He's being so nice to Siddiq that you almost wouldn't suspect anything. It's almost too nice. The only side of Dante I'd say we have seen that isn't smiley and almost too friendly is in the Alexandria meeting they had, of course with Michonne talking about the Whisperers and not fighting back and just meeting them at the border like Alpha said. Dante just adds the comment, "We're already under attack." So he's in favour, he's almost piling onto the fact that he recommends they do go armed to meet at the border, which would of course lead to more punishment and more death. So you could add that to this theory as well, but just remember the Highwaymen also want to do that, so it doesn't really make much sense to add that in against Dante. But then again, who has Dante lost to be making comments like that? All the other characters we saw, the Highwaymen, they've lost people to the Pikes, to the Whisperers. Who has Dante lost? In fact, the most important thing about Dante is for such a character that's been on screen this much already. I mean, he's only been 15 minutes, but if you think about the amount of time he's had with Siddiq, why didn't we see him end at Alexandria? He's not the first character to appear during a time jump, but why haven't we seen that of all characters, a doctor? He's appeared during the time jump and he's connecting to Siddiq to this extent. He's almost saving Siddiq, so what's the point? Why was Dante made a doctor in the TV show? What's the true meaning of it? If Dante really is a Whisperer, I think we're going to see his transition from a Whisperer to a normal person. Just like with Alpha at the fair in season 9. If she can do that, I'm pretty sure Dante could do this. A lot of people have said that because Alpha said she can see everything, because she knew that they crossed the border in the winter when the storm happened, Alpha had to have had someone working at one of these free communities telling her what they've been doing and where they've been. Like a spy or a double agent as some people have called it. Pretty much what I'm saying Dante could be doing right now. Dante wasn't there in the winter, so I don't agree with that. I think the whole point of the Whisperers is that they see everything, but could it be possible that another character has also been a spy? I think that's definitely possible, but all I've noticed right now is that Dante is extremely likely to be a Whisperer. I think it's extremely likely to happen. Remember, these theories aren't my predictions. It's just an interesting and quite creepy case that I've managed to come up with and create from the scenes that we have got with Dante. Now, in my honest review for the premiere of Season 10, I actually said I liked Dante. When I first saw him, it was funny because He's not funny. That's the point of his humor and his character. So maybe that's the point of his character. Maybe Dante is just one of those weird characters who appear out of nowhere and just start connecting with these bigger and more major characters. But when you start to watch his scenes back and realize there are some suspicions there, and he's talking to Siddiq, someone who I've actually made a theory before about possibly betraying the group somehow, leading the characters to the barn, you just start to ask, why is Dante in the show? I don't think it's got anything to do with Maggie now, by the way. I originally thought it was some ploy to get us hyped for Maggie, the fans of Maggie hyped for when she returns because they're together in the comics, but I don't think that would work in the show now. There seems to be a bigger motive with Angela Kang when it comes to Dante. There's got to be something she's doing with this. And the biggest question we have from season 9 is, how did these big characters get into the barn? Of course, when the comics did the Pikes, it was never really addressed because they didn't have to. It's a comic book, but this is a TV show, and I think if they're not just going to forget about what happened at the barn, if they're giving Siddiq this extra development for his character because he was there, he survived it, I think there's a lot more to it. And I think we will see what happened at the barn again, especially now we've seen Henry in episode 3. They're not scared to bring these characters back for scenes. And the Siddiq betrayal theory could equally come out as true now as well. People don't understand what that means. So I know I've said it so many times now, but it doesn't suggest Siddiq is a traitor or a spy. It's that he betrayed the group by doing something. He made a choice that would betray the group. And now everyone's talking about it. They're saying Siddiq might have had a hand in being forced to kill one of the characters. That's what the theory literally is that he did do that. So now that everyone's talking about it, just remember that video. It's not too silly now, is it? I think you should subscribe. But do you agree with me on this theory? Do you think Dante is a whisperer? Could this turn out to be true? Make sure to let me know on the top right of your screen. You're going to see an eye icon. Just click or tap on that and you can vote in the poll. Do you think Dante is a whisperer? Of course, don't just vote in the poll. Make sure to comment down below what you think. I'm going to read all the comments on this one. Make sure to let me know. Maybe there's another character that you've noticed might be a spy too. Or is there something else that you've noticed about the scenes at the barn? Maybe Siddiq did something else. Make sure to let me know. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to press the like button. It genuinely supports me and will get this video more seen. And if you did enjoy it, you should check out videos that are similar to this one. Check out my Ezekiel's Fate breakdown video. We actually find some pretty scary evidence to show that Ezekiel will get Gabriel's comic death, and it's going to be quite bad. So if you want to see what I mean, go and check that video out. And very similar to this video, if you want to see my Siddiq betrayal theory, make sure to go and check that one out. It's very likely to happen now that we've seen the flashback scenes. So make sure to go and check that one out if you're interested. It could very well be true. And of course, make sure you subscribe so that you're the first to hear about The Walking Dead. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.